described as flat, and I think that's ridiculous.
I don't know. I've dated a few girls that were kind of flat.
Well,
There's
how
nothing
are
wrong
we
with
describing? How are we describing the word flat?
what equal elevation.
Personality.
So when you say there's nothing in the world that's flat, are you saying that's because of gravity?
No, that's because of the stringent definition that these guys want to try and attach to flat. And like somebody astutely pointed out earlier, even the use of an optical flat is still not perfectly flat. So by Bev's definition, nothing is flat.
Yeah, I don't know how Bev would go putting up a set of shelves that are flat but not level.
Well, I guess if you look at it in that technical sense, that even a flat piece of wood has little ridges in it, so it's not flat.
Right, but you can't.
Yeah,
make
technically
a mirror.
nothing in the world is.
No,
Right.
because even a perfect mirror would have slight little, even if they're microscopic ripples. It's not flat.
Yeah, that's what he was basically saying. He brought up optical flats, which I actually know quite a bit about because that's how you make a ferrocell cell. And yeah, they still have undulations. So
So not flat then, by his definition.
they are like the most flat piece of glass you can get, and they're very expensive. But they are not. Yeah, but yeah, even according to his own definition, his own example was actually not flat.
Was that even what he was saying? Though? I don't
like
know if
optical.
What was he saying? Optical flats, like that phrase? 'Cause I think what I heard him saying is just that like a visual surface feature. And I said, well, did you just make up that definition of flat? And he said, yeah, it's just mine. So he just sort of said visual. But did he say actually optical flats?
Yeah. He invoked optical flats, which is a piece of glass.
Yeah,
So
okay.
It's
Then maybe
like the flattest thing ever. Well, it's just funny because he brought that up as if though there are things that are flat, and I'm like, no, those are also not perfectly flat. In fact, they have like ratings, like they have ratings, grades.
Well, glass is a lot flatter than what it used to be in the old days.
Yeah, because if you want to make a real deal ferrocell, you got to get optical flats. Now you can use other stuff. If you want a really nice one, you got to get optical flats. And I was looking into them, and they're super expensive.
Well, if you were some kind of cosmic giant, if you ran your finger over the surface of the Earth, it would feel flat.
Yeah, exactly.
What's that? A billiard ball's more smooth
Yeah,
than the
exactly.
Earth or something.
Well, it feels smooth. But that's really what it is. Like only certain materials really can be like optical surfaces. Like silicone's one of them. That's why like glass works, and that's why like you could make a mold for glass, like silicone rubber. And then we've got like plastics that work, and they make it like optical. It's just I guess the compactness of the matter, its ability to like move the light, whatever. These kind of qualities are not found in wood or a rock. You know what I mean?
So is my flat screen monitor really flat?
No. But relatively, right? It's not. It doesn't look round to you, right? Like because there used to be rounded televisions, like the surface of the television would be round before we had quote flat screens, which aren't atomically flat. But if atomically flat is like your criteria for calling a flat Earth flat, then nobody's ever said that. That would be like almost like we're like one-dimensional creatures on a flat surface, and everything is one-dimensional. You know what I mean? And nobody's really made that case.
Dude, the only other time I've heard that, even like said in all these discussions, is in like 24/7 on that server back in the day when like teenagers would come in there and be like, "You guys think the Earth is 2D? You think it's perfectly flat? No, there's mountains." That's like the only other person I've ever heard that actually be asserted by, or said, is like literally like teenage troll kids on 24/7 just saying that there's mountains, it's not 2D, and just trolling.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I've heard people say that before when when they hear that we believe in a flat Earth, they're like, "Well, what about mountains?" And it's like, "Well, then you're a ball. It's not a sphere then because there's mountains." So
Yeah, well, that's why I threw the ridiculous one, like, are whales flat? Like, because just the whole thing was just ridiculous. Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard any flat earther say, well, yeah, the surface is perfectly flat. It's a bit crazy.
It's just such a stupid waste of time and energy point, So
Oh, man, I
it's
don't know how you
pedantic.
guys did it for so long. I
I was
tuned
standing
in
in
literally
line
for
for
2 minutes.
immigration, so I was bored. And then once I got called up, I'm like, I'm out.
I literally tuned in for 2 minutes and I was just losing my head. I was going bananas. I'm like,
And I
how
actually
is no
jumped
one?
in just because same thing. I heard him, and I'm like, oh man.
So you're back in the U.S.?
No, but
Oh, yeah.
this next flight leaves Chile, right? And so I have to kind of go back through immigration, show them my entry and exit pass, all that stuff. So we
Yeah,
did
yeah.
that. So
I
yeah,
was going to say
about
you're
to
not
go through.
lost or anything.
Seemed too early that
No.
you'd be back already, but I was thinking immigration. I usually like you would hit that when you come in. So, but yeah, if you gotta do it in Chile.
Yeah, so we left at 3:45 a.m. here in Punta, which is like 1:45 East Coast. And then so it's 8:48 here now. So we've just done the first flight, which I think that flight was 3 hours. I think it was 3 hours, like 4 to 7. And this next flight's like the long one, it's like 9 hours, 10 hours, and it's to Atlanta. And then and so we're flying by my house to go to Atlanta. And then I gotta get on a plane after like a 3.5 hour layover just to go back to Tampa, which is like
Have
an
you
hour and a half flight. So
Have you thawed out yet from that freezing snow?
yeah, a little bit. Punta Arenas is cold too, though. But yeah, yeah. I'm sure ready to get home, man. I'm so over it.
Back to t-shirts and shorts.
Exactly.
Yeah, but just
so
going on holiday is pretty full on anyway. Normally you need a holiday from your holiday.
Mm.
Well, and actually, I wear hoodies in Florida when it's like in the 60s now, so it's no t-shirt. No, and actually, I have to immediately turn around and travel and go to Tennessee. So good times.
What did you say, plane? They went there for holiday? Go there for holidays?
No, I just said, normally when you go on a holiday, you need to take a holiday from your holiday afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah, you're so exhausted.
They-
So you guys going
They
down there and
wouldn't have
spending 2 days away.
They wouldn't have enjoyed themselves one bit being down in that environment.
I'm sure it was still pretty cool though, wasn't it, Witsit?
It was a very cool experience in terms of what you got to see, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Which is very cool. Very cool. It's very beautiful. It's like
Yeah,
surreal, but it's like, yo, you can see that in about 3-4 hours, you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Wasn't,
But how did
No,
you
we
wasn't
get
there
got
any
the
the,
one lane.
wasn't
did
there
you
any
break out the
activities you
infrared
could do
camera?
that would wasn't there any activities you could do that were classed as fun?
Well, so any of the activities you do except for the sun, is that what you said?
I said, wasn't there any activities you could do down there that would be considered as having fun while you were there?
Oh, well, no, because we were there specifically for the sun. And so they tailored our experience. Basically, you contact the company and tell them what you want to do. They have a bunch of different packages, but they'll kind of tweak it based on what you need to do. And so we were going down there to document the 24-hour sun. We knew that there may be clouds. We didn't know what day would be clear. So the idea was that they set us out away from the camp so that the sun wouldn't go behind the mountain. The mountains at the camp are 13.5 degrees. So the sun would have gone slightly below it, which would have been obviously a huge conspiracy, even though it would have just been for like an hour or whatever. So we went out in the middle of nowhere and we didn't really have anything else planned because we didn't know if we needed to take the full 3-4 days because of weather, right? So we did have another. I mean, we got on a little plane. We had like a scenic. We had like a scenic flight on a little plane, which was pretty cool.
Hmm.
Because we were
Did you do
flying like
any?
through the mountain, you know.
Yeah, sorry, man. Did you do any filming with the infrared camera at mountains in the distance?
Yes.
And like you can check out later what you were looking at.
Yeah. Yep.
Anything that you think was like super far away? Because don't they say in
I think that
Antarctica you can see more further?
I think literally everything that we saw was super far away, bro.
Yeah,
So,
right.
it's the flattest, most clear. I mean, when the weather kind of changed, it wasn't as clear, but it's insane how far you see. Like it's insane. It's like the best place ever to do flat Earth measurements. Like it has to be. It's just all ice, and it's just you see so freaking far away. And of course, the horizon is always just this like fuzzy gradient way off in the distance. But you know, it's hard to fact check the elevation and distances to those things, and we have to kind of rely on what they said. But we do have quite a few that we should be able to pretty easily match up with the reported data.
Awesome.
You mean fuzzy when it looks fuzzy? Exactly what people say wouldn't happen on a planar Earth.
Yeah,
The
or like
horizon.
what would have to well, yeah, what would have to happen if it was flat Earth? And then you point out that's what happens, and then they say something
Yeah.
else.
But Piper
But also
Australis is always telling me, why do we have a clear horizon?
Yeah,
I don't know if you guys are anything then.
it's condition dependent. Yeah, it's dependent on the distance, the conditions, many
Yeah.
many factors that play into that. Oh, I was gonna say too, with the long distances there, like the dryness of the air, wouldn't that make a big difference too in terms of being able to see further? Yeah, that's cool. Do you think there's gonna be? Do you get some infrared shots that might be cool?
I
too?
think so. Yeah, we got a bunch of infrared videos on the plane, both rides. Yeah. And we can kind of
So,
track the elevation, I think. So we took them when we were getting lower in the plane, and you could see mountains from super far away.
I guess the challenge is maybe getting the distance. I guess we'd have to just depend on
Yes.
Google Earth, I guess.
That'll be the tricky part, but some of the shots are like right when we landed, so you know where the runway is, right? There's like a big blue ice runway, so you can if you can match up the mountains, you'll have a really good idea according to what they say. Which, by the way, I think the distances are probably correct in terms of stuff like that, like the accessible areas. You know what I'm saying? So
Did you ask them like, oh, do you know what mountain that one is over there, or anything like that, or did they have any ideas on the names of certain things?
well, not
Or
when we
are
were
they
doing the
known?
infrared in the plane, but when you're
No, no.
down there, they obviously know all the mountains around you. You know.
Yeah.
so Witsit, question: how bright was the because of the snow and everything? How bright was it out there?
Like it gave you a headache, like
Uh,
insanely
like
bright. Like
so you like had to wear your sunglasses like most of the time.
yeah, literally, you can't like have your sunglasses off for more than a few minutes.
Hmm.
It's pretty crazy. And so then it just starts. Then you're always wearing sunglasses. So then when you do take them off, it's like super bright. You know what I'm saying? So it sucks. It
Yeah,
like totally messes with your head. If it's like, and another thing that didn't help with the sleep is that you could have told me it was any time. I was so delirious and had not slept at all. Like if you look at my live stream, I just corrected it, but it's like I'm like misspelling like every word, and I like couldn't stay awake for the 30 minutes to the next till the stream started. I woke up like 3 minutes before my stream started. Like I was just delirious the whole time. My point is that because of that, combined with the sun, like you could have told me it's 9 in the morning, and it could have been like 9 at night. I would have had no idea.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That probably would mess with your head a lot.
It's
Yeah.
crazy to think that people also like live in darkness for periods of time. Like, yikes.
Yeah. Well, thanks for answering that.
Yeah, super, super, super bright.
Yeah, it's like I hate it just when we go to like I mean daylight savings kind of sucks for the whole idea of, messing with your circadian rhythms, but it's great because you get a lot more light. And I hate it when we go into winter and all of a sudden it's just like dark for so long.
Yeah, I
I
think
hate
they're talking about
cold and
getting rid of daylight savings, but I think they're going to keep the longer days for the US. I don't know how that will affect you.
yeah, I like
Yo,
the
so I
longer
was looking
days.
at that. Geo, I'm curious, bro. Did you have some like critique? So, you guys have heard my take probably 1,000 times by now that like flat Earth's not about models and the trap is to like just internalize another model so that they can then like use it to say flat Earth isn't true or whatever. But at the same time, like trying to figure out how things work is good. Just we shouldn't be claiming them definitively or whatever. So, you know how like almost every flat Earth will say, yeah, what would definitively prove it that the Earth is not flat or that it's a globe is to go over Antarctica and pop back up on the other side. So to go over Antarctica and just go straight, and then pop back up and hit a solar continent. If you look at like that bipolar projection, because these are all just projections of the same thing. These are like azimuthal projections, and you're just moving around the central point. That's all you're doing. If you guys don't understand that, Shane just dropped a good 3-minute video where you're able to visually see it as he changes through the things. These are all just projections. Some people are like, this is a totally different model. It's like, well, it's a different projection, is what it is. But if you look at that like bipolar type of projection, like I was talking about, Antarctica is a continent, and you could go over it. You start going over it, and then you would go like across the entire continent, and you would basically follow north based on the magnetic field lines. And so you would cross Antarctica, and then for as far as you can tell, you're going straight. You're going north, and you would pop into like Australia, like at the other side of the continent. And that would in that model that would happen on a flat Earth. But that's one of the things that so many flat earthers have claimed would prove the globe. Now, in theory, still, it would prove the globe if you just went straight and then actually just looped back up, like so straight, but not cardinal direction, right? But that's not how we would ever actually do it. We would be using cardinal directions the only way. So I think we need to go ahead and get out ahead of making sure we really clarify that claim, because there's definitely a possibility that they try to bring someone, do something like this with that. And you see what I'm saying? It would work perfect because on the globe, if you get to the quote unquote South Pole, every direction away from that is north. And so if you went south to the South Pole and then continued straight, then you'd be going north. So then if you just followed north after that to test the globe, and then you hit a southern continent after going over Antarctica, they'd be like, see, globe confirmed. Flat Earthers claim that this would prove, debunk flat Earth. But it actually wouldn't.
Yeah, I think I see what you're saying. I just posted the one of those projections in the chat just so everyone knows what we're referring to. But I hear what you're saying, yeah, because the only thing on that map though, on that projection though, is that there is like a straight line that like Pac-Man's basically from north to south. Like if you were just go dead straight, like you were saying, just like a dead reckoning. So I guess that one technically, like unless you have a Pac-Man thing,
For sure.
the dead straight one. But yeah, any of those angled lines, like you said, like if you were to follow it, it would take you back up north. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I used to think the Pac-Man model was viable especially after reading Enoch and it talks about the portals. But now I prefer to stay away from any model that has the Pac-Man phenomena or Mario Brothers, where you leave the left side of the screen and appear on the right side of the screen. You guys know what I'm talking about? Yeah, like I would prefer to stay away from that as much as possible, dude. I don't want to go on that route.
I agree.
We have to.
No, we don't. We don't have to. So I guess the point that Gio's making is, even on this projection here, like, yeah, if you go straight, it would debunk the flat Earth in this model, unless you did the Pac-Man thing. But what would actually happen is you would go, say you fly from South America like we did, you go over that peninsula like we did, and say you just continue going across the continent there, as you get over Antarctica, you would start to follow the field lines and you would actually go up north and you would hit Australia. Right? So people would think, okay, you went south, hit the quote unquote South Pole, continued north, and then hit Australia, and that proves the globe, even the flat earthers have agreed.
That would be
Which,
a really large distance, wouldn't it?
yeah. Yeah, according to them, Antarctica is pretty big. I mean, they claim that some guy came in without a permit, and I mean, this guy wasn't lying to me. He fully believed the story, but he showed me a bunch of stuff. Showed me like all these crazy routes people had done and stuff. The most historical explorations of Antarctica or whatever.
As
Guy came
as
in
far
with
as I,
with like a parachute and just went across the entire continent, supposedly 57 days.
we'll see. But yeah, I think that the latitude lines are pretty accurate in distance from the north to the south. Like if you just follow a latitude, I think the problems arise are the longitudes, bro. From east to west is where they did most of the stitching. That's where the anomalies truly lie. I think are in the middle of the Pacific, in the Atlantic, where you have no land and not a lot of observation. Because if you try to compare like the size of Australia with North America or with America and the time zones, like you can kind of get a rough estimate and compare, and they're pretty good, give or take half an hour. The time zones are political, they say, right? But even if you were to actually draw them out and standardize them based off of the sun's position, it's pretty close, bro. But it's hard to determine where they stitched the map up. And you got the international dateline on top of that.
Yep.
Yeah. And hey, this is going to kind of sound like I'm changing subject, but I'm not. Can someone just lead through a couple of questions with me? When it comes to Tartaria and the mud floods, all right, so what are people's thoughts on that? Because I've been thinking lately that for that to have happened, that would mean that people back in the 1900s or 1800s, somewhere, somehow, there must have been some kind of mind wipe, and whoever was still around got their memories replaced. Does anyone sort of thought about that? Because if that
Not
happened,
necessarily, but that's
the only way I could see that happening, because obviously those people back then, if they still remembered the old world, they would have sat back going, hold on, why has everything changed? What's going on? Right? And we don't have any record of that. Now, they could have wiped that record for sure. But just follow me for a moment, that then if there was some kind of mind wipe, that kind of reset, then isn't that more suggesting that the only way that could happen would be either God did it and just wiped everyone's memories, or we are in some kind of VR and you could easily just reboot the system?
Well,
if
hold
you
on.
look into
Before,
the Dark
You just
Ages,
wipe
Well,
everyone's mind.
if you look
Wait,
into
wait,
the
wait.
Dark Ages, you've got several resets, bro.
Well, hold on. We could shift to this if that's what the flow is
Oh
here.
no,
But
sorry. Then what I'm getting at, it with, sorry, Gio, is that then if that's the case and we are in kind of some form of simulation, whatever that is, and I'm not saying
well,
it's
what
like
about
simulation, then
hold on. Before we
24-hour
move
sun.
on to that, bro, hold on. I know you're eager to talk about Tartaria, but
No,
before we get
I'm
into
not.
that,
I'm
hold on.
not.
Before we
I'm
get into
still
that,
talking
let's just
about
make
the
sure that
24-hour
we
sun.
finish the last topic, dude. That's all.
Yeah, I'm still talking about the 24-hour sun. That's all. I'm still talking about that. What I'm saying is that if we are in some type of simulation, then it would be more than possible for there to be that 24-hour sun and to be everything else. Because
Well,
if it
but
is
the
just
thing
a
is, if
simulation,
okay, so a lot of people want to give up on the map altogether, right? I still believe in the idea of the equal circles of latitude based off of polarity, elevation. Like that's something we could still work with, guys. Like, I got testimonies of navigators from the 1800s, 1700s, 1600s. Dude, they all talk about the South expanding outwards, and that you have at the extremities an icy barrier. I know that much, right? And then how do we have a 24-hour sun over that topographical plane? That's a whole nother thing, you know. And then, but for people to start thinking about like these other models altogether and gave up on the AE map, I don't think that's right. We know that there's distortions based off of the globe projection, but that has nothing to do. That has nothing to do with reality. Like the Gleason map is a representation that he was allowed to publish, like Witsit already mentioned, right? The church, they wouldn't allow him to publish a map, as any cartographer had to go through the gate, which was the Queen in England and the church, and they weren't allowing anybody to publish latitudes and longitudes that didn't fit what they had researched, what they had, you know, what they were developing.
That is so sus. It's so sketchy that that history, like if that's even true, that was going on. The Queen's like, yeah, you can't make a map that isn't fit within what we want you to do. That's so intense.
Yeah, it totally happened. We found the like documentation. It was like a decree from the king, like 1700s, said no one could publish a world map unless it adhered to the newly developed longitude and latitude system. So
that whole history is amazing with Galileo and the first clock that was based off of the pendulum swing. You know, that's how you got the first grandfather clocks, and how they developed like how to standardize time, dude. They had to figure out how to standardize time worldwide because time is dependent on the local sun, and it changes incrementally from geographic location to geographic location. They had to come up with universal standard time to come up with the longitude lines.
yeah, that whole history is like definitely worth diving into if no one's ever looked into it. It's pretty crazy. So, but so they make that map and then they just take the globe and flatten it. I mean, yeah, seems highly unlikely that it's accurate. Like if they lied about the Earth or hiding something on the Earth, why in the world would they give you the accurate map and then tell you that no one else is allowed to post anything or like publish anything else? Like, come on. It may be very close to accurate. I mean, it may just be missing landmass because I don't know what it is, but I've never claimed it.
Austin, I have another question. Or go ahead.
Well, let me just from the convo, like where do you fall on like currently on the 2-pole one? Like, what are your sort of thoughts on it?
So I haven't really had time to try to like fully critique it. I guess that's actually what I meant to bring up, which was I think that what flat earthers should do now is be like the most critical people. They should debunk any of these other ideas, come up with every refutation that you can think of, so that we can actually like polish out what's going on. You know,
Bro, remember when you were saying like a little while ago, we were talking about how like 2015, you know, was this huge surge, and then they hit us with the censorship and the COVID and and then you were talking about the second wave coming. Well,
yeah.
I think it started.
That's correct. Yeah.
But
it's funny because it was like end of
like
this year
era.
into next year. Yeah, it's like literally it's like a new era, bro. In terms of like even what the flat earthers are going to figure out.
Yep. And then the globe earthers that have been celebrating early are going to be sitting there like, oh, we celebrated early as the months and months go by and amazing shit's coming out. And then like, maybe they're not going to get quite as much debate time, maybe because we're focusing on more productive stuff. Still do some debates probably, but I'm just saying in general, I'm wondering just in the community in general, whether that'll shift. I've almost noticed a little vibe that like some of the globe folks are like almost kind of helping us kind of more than before. Like there's less opposition. I know it sounds weird because you might think, oh, well, they're all doing their media. See, everything just comes in like dualities, you know? So, okay, they're going to run the media, they're going to do all that, and it might hit the main, you know, people in some way, the mainstream people. But I'm just noticing like within the community, some of the more like rigid globe folks are kind of like almost loosening up a little. Like, I don't know if it's like they feel bad that this happened or like that it's kind of this going to be this big media hype. And it hasn't even really started yet, but I've just noticed these little bits of like, oh, like they're like a little bit more kind of working with us, maybe, or kind of willing
So
to.
I think that they really love flat Earth and like need it. And part of them, and they'll never say this, is like pulling for us because they've heard us say things that are interesting or don't add up or do make sense to them. So like they're relying heavily on us to figure out what's going on without having to like publicly say they're doing that. And they just like like they need flat Earth. They really enjoy it. So this idea that was being presented like this was ending it. They're like, no, it doesn't. I don't want it to end. That's what I think. So I expect them to come in and kind of do what Zanuck was doing. So
Yeah. Well, it's kind of just like the idea of a new era. It just seems like that might be part of it because, yeah, like when things change, it tips up energy in various ways. So, yeah, no, that analysis you just said is, I think there's a lot to that.
yeah, because I mean, I don't know if you guys saw, but Matt Walsh picked this up yesterday. So it's going to be
Yeah,
really big.
I did see that. That was absolutely cringe. Wow.
Yeah, and he picked like the worst person to put on there. So, but it's funny because they're making such stupid arguments. Like, and it's just so bad. It's like they have to stay protected behind their little barrier of propaganda because they're not equipped for these debates, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like they're just not equipped for them. That's why I tried to tell you guys this is incredible for flat Earth because they can only avoid that for so long. You know what I mean? Like they're the ones with the platforms. They're the ones with the big voices. They are not equipped for these conversations. They haven't like learned the most up to date like globe defense script. So this is going to be very interesting in my opinion. I got people really mad at me, obviously, but I think they'll see in the long run.
Yeah, dude, those mainstream figureheads, it is like just unreal how little they actually know about it because it's such a deep topic. But the way that they speak about it makes it sound like it's so just remedial and dumb and stupid, and you have to be delusional and you're just lost. Like, dude, Matt Walsh, the stuff he said, wow, that was just that's like some serious like I mean, I imagine that script was just written for him. Like, I doubt he writes all his own stuff, right? So
I gotta be
Yeah, probably
honest
not.
though. If I wasn't already a flat earther, quote unquote flat earther, if I seen this video of the 24-hour sun, it would probably be enough for me not to commit 100%. Like having that on the back of my mind, seeing that 24 hours, it would mess with me. Like but now that I know as much as I know, it's not gonna affect me. I have a good foundation. But if I didn't have that foundation and I came across this information about the 24-hour sun, it would be enough that I wouldn't probably commit 100% flat earth.
I feel like I would agree with you.
Yeah, but this is what you guys have to realize. It isn't better to win deceptively. So like if you can convince more people that the earth is flat by showing them something that isn't true, that isn't a win. And it's actually potentially a huge loss because the longer that this was put off, like the more vulnerable people were. At least in this scenario, we actually got to pick who went. We have final edit rights. We have all kinds of data, and we have like like a real flat earther that's going to go explain the actual arguments that disprove the globe. So that's like kind of all you can hope for. I mean, it is what it is. I would because that's what the other guy was basically saying is like I'm told no flat earthers to go because this is going to hurt the other societies. It's like so you're suggesting you would have wanted them to continue to be wrong so they could convince more people. Like I guess I don't get that. Like I don't get that at all. I view this like something totally different. Like the creator is about to unlock this huge like key or like secret to cosmology. So that's what I think is happening.
Austin, I have a question. Could I shoot one?
Huh?
It's just a curious question. Wondering why, on like all your live streams and videos, what's the, why do you say the creator most of the times? Like most people say God or whatever, but you always say the creator.
Yeah, I try not to say God, but I mean, I say Yah or the creator, but I don't say God. I mean, maybe sometimes, like for intents and purposes to converse with people. I'm not like super dogmatic about it, but I think God is kind of a spell. I think that if you have true intentions when you're talking about that, then you're fine. But yeah, I mean, there's Godriel. That's why it says in God we trust. It's a Babylonian deity for fortune and luck. And you will hear some of the darkest people in the world say God. So I don't
Yeah.
say God. I'll say Yah or
Yep.
the creator.
And
Yeah, people were asking
you know what
that
it
the other
says,
day.
you know what it says right on the dollar bill, in God we trust. So,
Yes. And dude, it's the Babylonian deity for fortune. That's why it's on
oh,
the money.
Yeah, that's true. And people asked me that the other day. We had a big conversation about it. You weren't here, Witsit, but how a lot of the flat earthers are Hebrew Israelites. You were name dropped. Me, Tor, a couple other guys, Kingdom in Context, West Blaze, all these guys, right? And we use the creator a lot. We say the creator a lot instead of saying God. And people are wondering, how come we say the creator? Is it to be all inclusive? How come we don't say God? And yeah, that's what I would have said. The same exact thing that you just said, dude. There's reasons
Yeah.
why I don't say God too, bro. I'm reluctant to say Lord and God because
Yes.
where
Same.
those names come from.
Yes. And Lord, and it has a connection to Baal, and it just means master. It isn't specific, it's a title. So, like, the creator is kind of a title too, but it's very clear it's the creator, right? It's not God, not a God. It's not one of the gods. It's not the name of a Babylonian deity. It's literally spelled Gad. So it's pronounced the same. And so if you know anything about that, I actually believe there's a ton to the spells that are casted. Like even with how you're like you wake up in the morning. Like why are you mourning? Like you're waking up to die. Like a mourning, like awake. Like when people die and you're mourning, and then you're in like a weekdays, and then your weekend and job. It means like I forgot like something I forgot. But anyway, persecution or something like that. So what I'm saying is, those words are very different, but the sounds are the same. And I think that vibration is the key to everything. That's like cymatics. So they don't really care about how you spell it or what you think it means. I think that the sounds and the vibrations are important. I think that your intentions can't overcome a lot of any power like that. But say that you're kind of misguided or naive and you don't have a lot of specific intention behind it. I think they can use that collectively, like that collective ignorance and use of these words, like, yeah, to like affect consciousness of people and spell and stuff. So, long story short, once I learned out about the God thing, I can't just like in clear conscious keep saying it. So I just don't, we don't say it in my house. I don't teach my daughter God, I teach her Yah and the Father, you know, Heavenly Father. So anyway, teach their own.
Oh yeah, God, GAD.
Yep.
Yes, you have it. Yeah, it's God.
Isn't that crazy?
Oops.
Because they say all roads lead to Rome, but really those roads lead to Babylon. They're obsessed with Babylon, bro, from every angle. They're like, oh, the Jesuit. Is it the Jesuit or the Jews? They're but what? They're both just go back to Babylon, both of them. So like as in not like as in the Babylonian Talmud, which yeah, sure, it was written in captivity and da, da, da. It's like yeah, it had Babylonian influence, right? And then you have obviously the Jesuits, like the Catholic Church, just is Babylon basically. So I mean, yeah, that's the real enemy is Babylon, and what a coincidence! They got the whole world using a word that was the Babylonian deity.
little fear mongering in the morning.
Dude, if there's a little quiet moment, I mean, we don't have to completely go back into it, but dude, the point you were making about that two pole, I just wanted to say, like, that is true, dude. The way that's laid out, like, if you went from South America and then you went, like, from where you guys went, and then to Antarctica, and if you just kept following that straight, like, yeah, like those latitude lines would take you all the way back up around to the north. That is definitely something to keep a mind of, just in general, because yeah, that is one of the things that people say, oh, that would prove it, if you could fly over the South Pole and end up on the other side. I mean, I think that would be a good thing to have, like, in addition to other things. Like, if you could do that and measure curvature, now that would be interesting, in
I
terms
mean,
of,
yeah, obviously the measure curvature one is the whole point, and that's why
yeah.
they can't do that. They can't do anything in terms of substantiating the globe without looking at the sky. But yo, like you said, in reality, if you could actually go straight, it would still be the test. That the idea that the fire earthers are saying is true, but we know that's not how it works, right? Like, it gets twisted just enough. And I just feel like we might be set up for some of these things. I think we were kind of set up for the 24-hour sun. I've found, like, writings from more like older writings from synthetic authors saying, like, oh, there appears to be a 24-hour sun, and as synteticists or whatever they call themselves, we
Yeah,
must
on
always,
that on
like,
that point,
acknowledge the truth.
yeah, on that point, Witsit, I found it really interesting that Eric DeBay came and did his video on how that lady Blunt said the 24-hour sun was there, et cetera, et cetera. And that was from a book that he had read passages from in multiple videos, multiple times, but he never once ever mentioned that they had said there was a 24-hour sun. I find that really weird.
Interesting, huh? Interesting that Robert Sungenis makes the principle, and all of a sudden Bitcoin plummeted down. It's pretty funny, but it'll pop back up anyway. Um, the whole world, right? 2014, they're starting to find out. I mean, it was headed in that direction. That there's a major lie in terms of cosmology and astronomy and astrophysics. The Earth's in the center of the universe, which is such a major first step in this conversation, bro. And they started getting, like, a lot of traction because they had a lot of big names in there, and they appealed to the ego of the people, and they got them in there. And then they got banned from all the theaters, right? So they only grossed 100K after investing 2 mil. And then what happened? Boom, Eric Dubay. So I find it interesting because, like, if everyone's going to be honest, like, that completely overshadowed geocentrism. Completely. You can't even talk to someone about geocentrism anymore. Like, I try all the time. It's very difficult.
Yeah, I just
I'm
find it
not
really
saying
weird
that the Earth's like a
that
globe or anything. I'm saying I think it's pretty weird timing. We were given this model at that time.
yeah, like Eric DeBay actually made videos saying that there was no 24-hour sun, but then all of a sudden he read from a book that he'd read 1,000 times before, saying that there was a 24-hour sun. Why did he never tell anyone that before? Because I never read that
And
book.
then did you hear in that video he calls us, like, two Masonic actor shills or something? And he's like, sounds so vitriolic in it, like he's mad. And he only says Jaren by name, but he says two. He's talking about me. It's like, wait, why do you always call people shills, bro? Like, you're the one that, like, introduced that word to this community. So I don't know. I find it weird. I've been very restrained in terms of Eric Dubay, but I mean, he might be pushing it, bro, because he actually, in I think 3 of his proofs are about this Antarctic sun.
Yeah,
And he
exactly.
said it don't even get sunlight, 24-hour sunlight there, and that it's, like, super dark. And it's like he denied the 24-hour sunlight. So I don't know. I find it weird that then we go and all of a sudden it's like, oh, it doesn't matter. But they're shills. It's like, what?
Yeah,
It's
that's exactly what I'm pointing at. Yeah, 100%. It's just weird. I've been thinking that since I heard that video of his. I'm like, but hold on. No, actually, since I watched the Zetetic and Nachiketa video, when they went over that whole book. And I'm like, well, that's the book that Eric DeBay's been reading from forever. And if it's
He
right
ain't the
there in
only
the
one.
book,
Dude.
yeah, but if it's right there in the book that they knew that, or they said that there was a 24-hour sun, but they didn't care, why has he not been saying to anyone, yeah, well, we think there's a 24-hour sun, but we don't care for the whole time?
Or at least that they said that instead of like adamantly proclaiming that there wasn't one. Something
Yeah.
else people need to
He
wrap their
doesn't
minds
know, bro.
around. Samuel Robotham was a high-level Mason. Okay, so that's just true. It
No,
doesn't
I heard he
mean
was a snake oil salesman. I heard that he was a con artist.
he
Can't be
was a
president.
high-level Mason. And I will tell you, dude, the Masons know, man. Like they know, they do know. So that doesn't mean that he was like doing anything in terms of like deceiving the world about it or whatever. What's no, but like it's just interesting, right? Because publicly Masons are very smart. So like publicly available information, you got to keep an eye on it if it comes from a high level Mason, bro. This should go without being said. If you read their doctrines, they say, give just enough truth and omit the important parts as to deceive. That's like a base principle of the secret society.
Yeah, and they do that with the Black Sun. That's the shit that people are falling for. This Black Sun shit.
What do you mean people falling for it?
Because there's videos on the internet of a Mason, with his identity veiled, can't see his face, and he's drawing on a dry erase board
Yeah, and he
the
pulls out
Are
his
you
cosmology,
saying
bro.
that's?
And then
Are you
he
saying
points
that's
to the
not?
Black Sun at the end of the video, and
Do you
I
reckon
think the
that's
whole
not a
Black
Mason?
Sun. Nah, it probably is. It probably is a Mason. It's hard to tell
Okay.
what it is, but if we're gonna believe it, right? He's talking about the Black Sun. He's revealing some truth to us. And then the Nazis talked about the Black Sun. There's symbols for it.
Mm-hmm.
Some say it's, Vibes of Cosmos say that that's what's causing the stars, the luminaries. It's like a disco ball at the center of the earth. And a lot of people are buying it up. They like it.
Would explain the whole Rahu, Katu, and all the bodies that are not visible. You know what I mean? Like, kind of opens up all the old world stuff that they spoke about in the sky. Not saying there's an
Yeah,
agenda there. I'm just saying it throws a bit of light over that way.
There might be an invisible body that's orbiting the earth, a black sun of sorts, but I don't believe the way that they're trying to model it out. Like, yeah, there's this like nucleus, and it's like a black hole that radiates light. Nah, man, I don't know about that.
It's one of those, though, isn't it? If we sit there saying no, there is no, projection coming from the North Pole, then we go and we find out there is. You know what I mean? It's the same situation again. We kind of need to see if we can get there or get something there.
Well, I do believe in a central vortex, a whirlwind of sorts too, or some say it's Tartarus, the bottomless pit. Like that definitely exists at the center of our realm. If you want to call that the Black Sun, I mean, you could build a case for that.
No, I mean, the theory goes that the sky is projected from the central toroid, isn't it? The black sun cosmology is very specifically the skies coming from the center, right?
Yeah.
I gotta say, I did just look in my Skype in the Glowbusters chat and saw someone posted the video that apparently we're all Santos Bonacci and me and Dave Weiss and all these people are shills because we saved the creator.
You
That's
just seen a
obviously not
video? No way, dude.
Yeah, so that's obviously not a coincidence that whoever just asked me that question, which is fine, bro. But I mean, now you heard the real answer. That should be pretty enlightening to you to know what the real answer is, and then whatever that person in the video said, right? And whatever. Yeah, I am curious. I want to talk to Ariel and kind of get his take.
Yeah, that dude.
So,
That's hilarious. Nah, yeah,
Yeah.
man. I mean, I was a little bit offended because I got thrown in a bunch. We're like Hebrew roots trying to bring Christians back under the Torah, and I don't know, dude. It's weird.
dude, if you're a believer, you already follow a lot of the Torah. Like, what is wrong? Like, how do people? They don't, bro.
We got
Just
this
chill.
AE model. We got this, dude. It's like you're an agent, you're a plant. Jaren's a plant.
But I've never claimed the AE model. You know what's so funny is I'm the one that coined the phrase "falsification is independent of replacement." I literally coined that phrase for this very reason years ago.
Now you're smashing it, bro. You're handling this all very, very well. I
Yep,
wish
we can bring
Jaren
that.
handled it as well.
Yeah, what can you do? But it's all good. It's different because Jaren did kind of introduce flat Earth to people with that model and thought that was accurate. So he feels an obligation to tell people that he was wrong. So I mean, I actually respect that.
I just feel he
They-
should have worded that differently because now, I mean, first he got stung with interesting, and now he's going to get stung with I was wrong. That's what they're
Yeah,
plastering everywhere.
Yeah.
He just
and
should have
they're
worded
making it
himself.
out to be to say that he was wrong about flat Earth.
Yeah. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
that's really smashed him.
yeah. But this is the thing. They have to just avoid talking to me, and I don't like I planned all this. So you're gonna rarely see you're not gonna see my picture as much on you're only gonna see my picture from like quote unquote truthers. I'm actually gonna start calling them anti-truthers if they don't stop acting insane in like the next week, they're gonna be anti-truthers. But I'll give them a solid another week because I get why everyone's super skeptical and stuff like that. But once certain data starts dropping, you start seeing GoPros from every single thing we did strapped to our chests, and you see us all time lapse the flights there and after, and tons of videos and tons of pictures, and you see a 24 or 25-hour 360 interactive video, meaning you can touch screen, scroll around, and look wherever you want, up, down, side to side. 360, 25-hour continuous video, 1 terabyte big, that's going to show us all walking to the cameras, checking everything the whole time. And you're going to see the sun in that video, and it's going to directly overlap with everything else you see from every other camera. Okay, I keep telling people, you need to chill, bro. You need to chill because when all of it comes out, you're gonna feel stupid. We were in Punta Arenas. We had like 4 megabit download and like zero point 0.3 upload. You know, I want to see you try to sift through all this data and try to upload it. You can't. It's just way too big. The solar filter time lapse is like almost 2,000 pictures, and they're not just like low quality pictures, you know. So we're talking about pretty massive amounts of data. I'm just like McKeegan just wanted to release something to the public, and that's cool. Like to show, yes, we saw it. Here it is real fast. So the full video of what McKeegan posts is actually 23 minutes long, right? So he just sped it up to like under a minute, and everyone's like really trying to examine like that video and then like a couple clips from live stream. I'm just like, yo, I appreciate not blindly believing things. I don't appreciate making slanderous claims, especially if you claim to be a believer. You're not supposed to bear false witness. And I'm like super desensitized to people talking crazy about me, like literally don't care at all. But the only time that I do kind of care is whenever it's like someone we were supposedly cool or whatever, like you know me in real life, or like that's wild. Like, because if I had went down there and saw the sunset, you know, would have been a different story, huh? Anyway, I encourage people to be a little patient. Like, if you guys really think about what I just said about the 360 cam, think about that. People are like sifting through just the little bit they have right now. Imagine when you have a 25-hour 360 cam where you can look in all directions the entire time that we were documenting the sun. I mean,
Yeah,
come
it's
on.
awesome. And I can see you commenting on X. I don't know why, but I'm seeing so many blue tick so-called flat earthers questioning the footage, showing a bit of time-lapse footage on a loop and saying, "Look, it's fake." And what I did appreciate on one or two of them, I saw comments from you, Witsit, saying, "You got to be kidding," just kind of calling them out a little bit. And I thought that's nice, to see that actually you're out there and you're making sure that these people are just sort of, you're making sure you're not aligned or you're not being um you're not being used as someone who's saying that this never happened or there wasn't a 24-hour sun. So I can say, I'm actually seeing you out there on X, commenting and stuff. So fair play.
Yeah, and I'm obviously going to be way more active, but I've just been super busy. I don't think people realize this trip has been like, even when we got back to Punta Arenas, it's like meeting here, award thing here, itinerary here. Make sure you got all the rental equipment back here. Okay, dinner at this time. And it's been like nonstop. And when we went to Antarctica, it was like literally nonstop. Like it was so exhausting. We weren't sleeping, but we were like never able to stop. You know what I'm saying? And you're like loading like these huge, super heavy bags, unloading, loading, unloading, loading, walking through snow and ice, never sleeping. So it's
It's like
just like,
you went on a military expedition, basically.
yeah, pretty much in a way. And like, um, I literally don't have the energy to sift through all of X every time I get on there. I'm just like, damn, this just takes too long right now. Like, I just can't, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just can't do this right now.
Yo,
So
this is a learning lesson because we could see how this community can be toxic and hyper paranoid, overly critical. Sometimes it can be unhealthy, I think. We start cannibalizing each other, and there's legitimate people in this trying to really seek truth to get slandered, character assassinated. You know what I mean? Like, it's not good, bro. It's a bad look.
Well,
yeah,
and
I agree.
the thing about all the calling it fake or whatever is that they're like, okay, many of us talk about how NASA's fake and all of that. So there's already this kind of vibe of like, oh, flat earthers think everything is fake, which is not really the truth or whatever. But yeah, I mean, maybe some are more like that, but nonetheless. So there's already that kind of vibe. And actually, like Kai was in the live stream last night, and we were talking about it, and like she was saying how like it could be bad for flat Earth, essentially, like be a bad look. And people were kind of questioning her, like, well, how could it be bad? And one thing I kind of came to, I was like, well, if people hear about this, like, by the way, I just looked up, it's on CNN, straight up cover CNN article, so they just published that. So, yeah. I'm just looking over it, but yeah, it's full blown. Yeah, the title of it is "The Flat Earth Conspiracy is Spreading Around the Globe. Does it hide a darker core?" That's their title.
Dude, this is so good for flat Earth. The CNN is the most discredited source known to man. Like, I think that this is awesome. I do think that we talked pretty in depth before this happened. I tried to get everyone's like weigh in. Let me hear everything. Okay, I want you to know where I'm coming from. Obviously, this is what's going to happen, but really, we're kind of utilizing them because it's like the Trump effect. They can't help but write about Trump. Even if they're saying negative things, Trump just gets bigger. Same thing's going to happen to Flat Earth. And they're eventually going to have to actually ask questions. If Jaren's refusing interviews, then who are they going to ask? So, I think it's funny. I'm not going to really read any of them, so,
Yeah,
because they're all going
it's
to
a
be
lot of
negative.
it's a lot of rhetoric and just a lot of the same stuff. That just completely lack of information. And then some of them will say, "Oh, do you want to prove it for yourself?" And then they tell you sticks in the ground and look at eclipses. It's like literally like fifth grade level, less than fifth grade. It's like third grade. Like, "Oh, little Jimmy, did you forget the Earth was a globe? Well, come over here and we'll give you a few pointers." Like it's like that level of just.
Dude, Gio, this is why that's so good for Flat Earth. That's what I'm trying to say. People are like, if I had a solid determined blah, 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 I get that. But dude, this is what they did back in the day. So Flat Earth started popping off. They started doing this. What happened? People that weren't just like brain dead, they're like, okay, you're claiming that Flat Earthers can't even understand and explain or rebut these simple things. And they went and listened to Flat Earthers, and we laughed at how easy they were to disprove. And they're like, wait a minute. what's going on here? They can't help themselves, bro. They're like zombies. They just can't help themselves, And that's why it's always a good thing for more people to look at it. And it's even a good thing that these people that are kind of toxic like this, like they kind of need to learn their lesson because, I mean, all three of us went there and were not treated fairly. We got the longer flights. We got there a day later, so we had less time to rest before the trip started. We get there and just the Globers get the Wi-Fi password. Once the Wi-Fi gets set up, like we're told we can only bring one carry-on, and one checked bag, and we had a 55-pound limit. And then we get there and they're like, actually, you can bring unlimited bags. It's just that your whole crew has a total weight limit and you guys are nowhere close. You're fine. And then what do you know? All the Globers had tons of bags and tons of equipment. Like,
Really?
and then we go, yeah, dude.
I didn't
and
know
then
that part. So they knew that kind of? They knew?
Why else would they bring all the bags, And then we
Weird.
go, and there's like 4 or 5 more details, like, and we go through all the stuff I've already told you guys about in terms of just like no sleep, carrying things everywhere, constant, like super bright light, it's like super dry. It's crazy. And there was a girl with us doing it. And so we're doing all that. We're doing all of that for you guys. Whether you think we should have or think we did, I'm just letting you guys, that was all 3 of our intentions. Was that truth doesn't fear investigation? If we've been duped or people were being misled about this, let's go figure it out. And you can see why, from our perspective, it's really frustrating. We've almost just kind of checked out until we can get back home and rest a little bit. Because it's just, you just get on my X and it's just absurd.
Congratulations, bro, man. You're gonna push us forward without realizing it. And yeah, there is a little backlash coming because of what was said by Jaron and how this is being spun. But long term, this is taking us out of this stagnant place Flat Earth has been in. And now we're gonna, like somebody said, I think you said the other day, this is the first observation. And I'm stoked that you're stoked to go and get more data, to go and look at more information and look at new models. And that to me is what was needed. So it's come in a weird way, but it's going to result in the same pushing everything forward.
By the way, just to clarify this CNN article, it's actually from 2019, so it's not new.
Because that actually doesn't see. I'm expecting titles like this: "Flat Earth officially disproven."
Oh, dude, you should read. I mean, I don't know. Have you read them yet, dude? They're
no.
Like for the actual Antarctica ones, dude. Here's a few. Flat Earthers admit defeat in Antarctica. Flat Earther YouTuber admits mistake after trip to Antarctica. Dude, it's just endless. Like, Flat Earthers proven wrong. Sorry, Flat Earthers, it's over. Like, all the titles. And dude, it's exactly what they're doing. They're making it seem like it disproved and that, that you guys admitted all of Flat Earth was false and you were wrong, which is obviously not the case. It's like one nuanced part of the entire thing and the sun and all that. So yeah, it's just completely this, like, it seems like from what I've seen so far, all the titles are just basically just complete like clickbait type things of just, yeah, basically like those ones I read. And what I was gonna say before though, real quick, before I forget as well, is just the thing about, like, I mentioned Kai and then the whole, when we were talking, and then just talking about the whole thing about is it going to be good or bad? And it's probably going to be both, maybe some good, some bad, and we'll see what kind of hashes out. I think overall it's going to be on the good side because like truth wins and it's just like things are flowing and like it just is what it is. So if the process right now is that the Globe folks felt like they, I mean, dude, it's kind of a good deal. Like, we learned a lot more. We have tons of amazing footage. Like, it seems like a lot of like energies are being kind of sussed out between people in a way, like kind of true colors are being shown. People that were maybe in it for the wrong reasons or kind of attached to it for reasons, like that's been stripped away because they don't have that like safety net to go back to, like, oh, my AE map that I can just Google and it's right on there and everyone tells me that's what it is. I'm saying for some people's perspective, they might be in that. But I was just saying in terms of like everybody in the community, like calling you guys fake, I mean, what is it, like 20%, 25? I guess we don't really know like what percentage it is. And I mean, one thing about that too is it's like, it seems like no matter what you do, people are going to call it fake. Even if you did the most legit thing in the world, everything's solid, there's just going to be some percentage of people in this community, especially, that's just going to call it fake, no matter what, even if you did the most upstanding thing in the world. So that's kind of a thing. But I guess the link to that was just that if people see these articles and they're like, oh, okay, they say it's debunked. Well, is it really debunked? Like, these guys have been debating it for years. Like, is it really over just because of the sun thing in Antarctica? And then they go, looking into stuff. They come to various live streams or wherever, and if they see or hear a lot of people just conflicted and calling it fake, and this guy says he's cloned, this guy says it's CGI, this guy says it's Illuminati. I mean, they're just, I mean, I guess it kind of comes with the territory of the whole thing, but I'm just saying that was one of the ways that it could be negative, is that when people actually come to the community, depending on what they find, they might find just so much conflicting stuff, or like people calling you guys actors are fake, and then now they're like, okay, well, now they're saying they're actors and fake, CNN saying it's legit. It's just, it may be a little harder to find the real info, but
Yeah, see, this is what they did. This is the irony, right? They're kind of freaking out because they think like this is bad for flat Earth, when in fact there's like this, pretty highly tactical aspect of it that they don't even know anything about. And so they're like spiraling. And what ironically is happening is their behavior is by far the worst thing for flat Earth in this whole situation, by far, because they run the narrative that we're schizophrenic, paranoid, conspiracy theorists that say everything is fake and just start accusing people of whatever. And we're like, then when people are doing that, it completely confirms that narrative. And guess what? The Globers are going to cherry pick those people out and make fun of them. And dude, now you have to understand, I can't even be mad at them for that. I'm not mad at them for it. I'm sitting there in Antarctica. Like, I'm probably not going to do it too much, but like, I'm going to call them out. But like, I'm sitting there in Antarctica and like, I'm watching from their perspective, and they're just like, they're legitimately trying, they're like, what can we do to prove to them it's not fake? And then it just becomes an inside joke that there's literally nothing you could do. You say there's a green screen, we throw a drone up and shoot it backwards, like super far. Not good enough. So it's like, it becomes like an inside joke, and that's what they're doing. They want to paint flat earthers as that collectively, where we're the butt of a joke, and we're just like these crazy people that just deny objective reality by just baselessly claiming everything is fake. That's the very narrative that they want to put, that we're like science denying, ignorant, like paranoid, schizophrenic, crazy people or whatever. So like, the worst thing flat earthers could do right now is not just keep your cool. It's like, buddy, you must not have looked into this much if you're freaking out right now. Right? Because it's like, dude,
Yeah.
there's the preponderance of evidence. It is insane. Insanely one-sided. And
I gotta
they claim
say,
the flat
this is
Earth
a
died
pretty
years ago.
brilliant- This is a pretty brilliant psyop.
What do you mean?
They even labeled it correctly, the final experiment. So from what you're saying, you were psyoped the whole way through.
No. What?
Yeah,
When
you
did I
were.
say that?
So the way you described your trip down there, okay, you said the Globers, right, were basically like on vacation, and you guys were what, struggling?
No, first of all, they weren't on vacation either. Like, and I've been
That's
pretty
not
clear
what I
about this.
mean. That's not what I mean.
The
So
Globers had
so
to
you
do
were
a lot
saying
of
that
tough stuff,
you
but
were
keeping
saying
47 straight hours without sleeping.
no, that's not what I mean. So you were saying that like the Globers were aware that they could bring like a whole bunch of stuff, and you guys were not led to believe that. You said something
Yeah.
else that you got like there a day later than the other
Yeah.
guys did.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you were psyoped
No,
the
because that
whole
would
way
require
through.
me to have not known stuff like that was going to happen. But I
I'm
did
not
know
saying
stuff
that you
like
were
that was going
part
to
of
happen.
it. No,
No,
I'm
my
not.
brother,
That's
listen,
what I'm saying.
for me to be
Okay.
psyoped, I would have had to be tricked. What I'm trying to tell you is I expected stuff like that to happen. Like, I expected the Globers to get preferential treatment. I expected them to have inside information. I expected them to play nice face to face and be fake and deceptive. But that didn't matter to me. Like, I was going there for specific reasons. It's to actually find out the truth, to document it, and then to push Flat Earth forward with the most publicity it's probably ever had. So like,
I
all the other
understand that. I'm
stuff was
not.
kind of like side, you know what I'm saying? Like sides.
Yeah, but I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is that this, whatever this was an operation done to you, the three flat earthers who went. So it may look like some guy volunteered a whole bunch of money to send some people down to Antarctica to witness something, but that's not actually what it was, because there was a whole bunch of people that are already under the impression of the way the world is, and then there's three people who are not. Now these people have to be psyoped so that while they're there they can't actually really see what's going on, because the other ones, the globers, they're not going to really pay attention anyways. They're already in that paradigm. But now you have three people who are going down there who might actually look at something. And you can't have people looking too closely. You can't having them be too clear-minded. You always have to have them under some kind of psychological operation so that whenever they're in the situation, there's always something that's going to distract them or keep them from completely focusing on the task at hand.
Okay, I get what you're saying. That makes sense.
Yeah, so
I will tell
you were
you. I will tell you.
psyop.
Absolutely, sure. In that sense, sure. But I will tell you this. We were only in an approved area anyway,
That's
and
also part of the psyop.
yeah, but I knew that, bro. That's what I'm trying to say. Like,
I know
I
you know
knew that.
that. But see,
But
remember, there's a
I'll
whole
do it
bunch of people
again. I'll do
that
it all
aren't
again.
aware of this, right? Remember, this is for an audience as well, remember?
Yes, but I would do it all again because the alternative scenario is that they would go with quote unquote flat earthers, and who knows how real they are or how much they know. And they just actually flip to being globers, and that's like 1,000 times worse. Everyone's talking about, oh, Jaron admitted that the AE model that he used to believe in isn't correct. Oh no, it's like that's just him being honest. They have to cut out the very next statement he says to even run that narrative, which sure they'll do that. Imagine us not being the ones that went, some other globers or flat earthers going, and then just being like, I found out I've been wrong the whole time and the Earth's actually a globe. And that'd be so much worse. So I felt like we were trapped. And like one could maybe say Jaren breathed life into it. I don't know. But once it had life breathed into it, it didn't matter. Like either I had to sit back and watch that, which would have been like way more of like a tactical bomb, or try to like kind of diffuse it and be like, well, you're going to open the door and then I'll get to sneak in and say, here's what we really say. Here's the actual evidence. Like we, physically, empirically measure the surface of the earth. So I don't know, man. I mean, I thought so much about it to the point, bro, that like it's exhausting. And I do see what you're saying, but I think that I thought it out a lot, and my life is much easier not going there. So,
Yeah, I love
I'm
your
sure it
mentality,
is.
bro. And can I just say that I think it's really important here that the mentality of not running from that situation, that psyop, that he's right. They would have just picked some flat earthers who would have flip flop on camera and created even more mess. So there's an element of damage control. The fact that they went with the foreknowledge of what was going to happen anyway. But my point is that. For true strength, you've got to allow this manipulation to come. You don't hide from all this shit. You walk into it, let it happen, and then use your mind, use the truth. If you've got the right energy, you're going to be able to flip this and it's going to work in our advantage anyway. And like Witsit said, well, I'd not forget what Witsit said. I've been saying this for a long time. I think enough of these observations will debunk the traditional heliocentric model anyway. So for me,
and
this
think
is a
about that.
great situation.
Yeah, think about this. So, like, that's option A. That it still goes through, but they just pick out these other quote unquote flat earthers, which is what they do, right? Like, they debate quote unquote flat earthers that don't know anything. They put those people in clips because, like, it's obvious they don't want to like give a full form discussion with me or someone in this room for obvious reasons. So, and then the other option is say it didn't happen. Even in the scenario that it didn't happen, in the long run, it's a net negative in comparison to what's going to happen right now, in
Yep.
my opinion, because tons of flat earthers didn't think there was a 24-hour sun, and for many years that was myself included. Okay, Only once this came up and everyone started digging in and sending me stuff, and I all of a sudden a flat earther came out and said, "Bro, I've been to Antarctic in 24-hour sun twice. I'm a verified flat earther, but that does exist." And like when I started like really sifting through stuff, and Geo found this video from like some no name guy with 100 views, and that when he sent me that, I was like, damn. And then when I saw the trip was actually going to happen, I knew there was a 24-hour sun. We wouldn't have been allowed to go there. Now the alternative is if a bunch of flat earthers would have had to agree to spend a minimum of 35K a piece to take the risk of getting there and there being clouds. That would have never happened. So what does that mean? That because we know we're not freely and privately exploring, we're going to an approved area, there could be clouds. Why would we do that? They could kill us, whatever. So then we'd be here for another 20 years spinning our wheels, and at any point in time they could come in and, do this. So it goes ahead and rips the Band-Aid off. It rips the Band-Aid off and it helps us figure out what's really going on and then move forward. So, that's
I'm genuinely looking forward to all the people who I haven't spoken to about flat Earth for years because it's just been dead. Nothing's really happened. I'm looking forward to those globers to come back to me and say, "Oh, what do you think now? Has we disproved flat Earth?" This is an opportunity to speak to those people who didn't want to speak about flat Earth for years. This is great.
And there are some answers, right? Like even proof of concept has kind of existed. So, I mean, Joe Hamby does show proof of concept. And,
Exactly.
I mean, the Globers are like acting like it's so stupid, da da da. But that's what they have to say. So if you start
But
going
people
further
didn't
south
want
and
to.
there's some type of reflection, then you would be able to take that and turn it into a ball mathematics.
The way I see it, bro, people didn't want to talk about any other models or any other ideas, non-physical sky, reflections, domes, curves. People didn't want to talk about it. They wanted to stay empirical. And it kind of sat us in this space of, it didn't convince a lot of people. A lot of people wanted models. A lot of people wanted philosophy. So now it's kind of like forced our hand. Now we've got to start playing some cards. And to me, I think that's a good thing. Maybe there are empiricalists out there who disagree and wanted flat Earth to stay like this. But for me, I'm glad we're moving forward.
You're so right. We got to start hypothesizing now what might be happening, dude. You have to now theory craft. You're forced.
Yeah, philosophy is the next step after the after the physics. Then it's philosophy. It's about explanations, right? So you got to keep going.
You mean all the answers are not just on Google? I can't just Google flat Earth and it tells me everything?
Exactly. Now you got to critically think, figure out what the hell is going on. But hey, that Orion's funny. Bebe Wolf. He came at Witsit. He's like, you got psyop. Why do you say it like that? Like Witsit got psyop with the 24-hour sun. Witsit went over there all disoriented, delusional, seen a 24-hour sun.
You know what else is so cool about it? Check this out, bro. Everyone is tired. Everyone involved with the trip's tired. And it's like the holidays, right? So everyone's wanting to just go home and rest and hang out with their family. Well, time is our friend. They're like trying to capture the moment. They need to capture the moment, right? It's like hot right now. They need to strike. Fire doesn't have to do that because longevity helps us. And if everything comes back after it's been a certain amount of days, it's going to all come back beginning of the year, of the fake beginning of the year. I mean, now it's kind of settled down a little bit, and people are like, "Wait, what's going on?" And then there are going to be really big interviews and stuff. So, yeah, I see. I don't know, man. I guess I just don't fear stuff like this, bro. Like, I mean, truth doesn't fear investigation.
Good.
The creator cares about truth, So he's going to do something. He's doing something.
Witsit. May I ask you a question?
You may, yeah.
How is your personal experience of being there? I mean, the nature and the sceneries and stuff like that. Could you give us some feedback with that?
Yeah. It's just it's surreal, bro. It's super beautiful and breathtaking and like untouched and pristine and like looks like a painting. It's like incredible. And it's super quiet. Um, yeah, it's very crazy. And like you kind of realize like how much bigger this place is than you in a way. And yeah, it's cool. It's pretty humbling.
Nice, thank you.
hmm But like I said, I mean, I had that kind of moment on the plane. Getting out and looking around was pretty surreal. And then I was like, all right, I've seen it. But teach their own. Like if you're asking me if it would be worth it, I mean, I don't know.
With it, in your opinion, don't have to answer this if you don't want to. At the very least, I'm interested to see what we got out of this. Do you think it's safe to say this debunks a physical sky, a model, at the very least? Or do you think we can't even say that?
Well, I think that I don't know what you mean by physical, but if you mean like actual position, like that's already been debunked a long time ago because the sun sets in a different direction south. If you put like a little dome and move the light, it does that. So like if you move the light in a circle over a map left to right, but there's a little dome, then the light will look like it dips off to the left, even though it's going to the right. So it just has to be like a personal apparent position. So yeah, I actually don't think it debunks the A map in that sense because you have to invoke an apparent like kind of personal observer situation with the sun. But it definitely see because really I don't even think you can say it debunks like the A model where the sun is physically moving in a certain path because you may just be seeing a reflection of it, which sounds crazy, but I mean I've once I watched them physically demonstrate it, I'm like, oh well, duh. So I think it definitely debunks the generally accepted, limited, you know, handcrafted model. Yes. And I think that's super good. I've never thought that was true, man. I just want you guys know I've never thought it was true. Okay, I thought it was a step in the right direction. And I defended it when people like made false claims about what falsified it, but I never thought it was true. They lied about the Earth. Why would they give you the map? Not even complicated. And then, by the way, that problem doesn't get solved with this either. So I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I think there's a 0% chance we have the accurate world map. Like 0%.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, I agree. It can't be. Anyway, we know that it's not. The expansion in the north and it's decreased in the south, so the land masses at least are not the correct sizes between the hemispheres.
It's not too far off. It just needs an adjustment, in my opinion. I think that if you could get the correct distances between the oceans, we could figure it out.
So what about Shane's model? What are the shortcomings and Bislin's model? Is this something that can be expanded on and built on, or do you think there's too many problems? Because remember, I don't know if you've seen Lindsay Harris's work as well, but I mean, are we headed in the right direction in that sort of, with that sort of model? You reckon? Personally.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. I think that the proper model obviously incorporates the torus field, and torus fields can do lots of things, So, um, yeah, I mean, exactly what his model is pretty difficult for me to even say because he very rarely answers directly when you ask him. So, but I do think that he's in a general correct direction, possibly. Yeah,
And the
because
whole
the torus field is very important.
Yeah, and do you also agree with his Southern Star convergence point? You know, the whole sun's celestial pole argument.
That there's like quadrants or like multiple sections of them.
It's almost like he's describing it as just a personal experience that aligns with the North based on the limitations of the fanning out of corpuscular rays and then converging back as they hit the limit of your view or whatever. He's kind of insinuating that every southern celestial pole is individual.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, maybe. I
I'm
mean,
not sure if you've seen his
that's very
corpuscular
similar
work.
to one of the ideas that I thought was a pretty good explanation of how it would occur. Like corpuscular
Theologically,
and anti-corpuscular rays.
I'm willing to entertain 4 poles on the outer edges, the 4 winds at the 4 corners of the earth, and then 1 center rotation. So maybe 5 rotations altogether. But I don't understand how there's no, convergent point between those rotations. There should be like diverging, converging points.
Yeah, feel free to change the subject if you want. I was sorry, I don't mean to draw you on it. I just really wanted to pick your brain on that.
Yeah, just like I gotta figure out his thought.
Earlier, the guy wanted to talk about Tartaria. He's still here.
Yeah, cool. Last question though for you, Lion. What do you know why Shane doesn't come in here anymore? Like, I would have thought this week would have been a great time for him to be about, to be fair.
Do I know? No, I don't know. I don't. He comes in here sometimes. I've seen him rarely, but maybe it's one of those things where you need to reciprocate. If you don't reciprocate, people act like, oh well, if he's not going to visit me, I'm not going to visit. I don't know if that's the case. That's just pure speculation on my part. I'm just saying.
I really hope it's not that. This could be his time to shine, you know.